Hey,
It is
happy Monday,
Monday.
everyone.
Monday rundown, motivational. No, just kidding. Motivational rundown, mindful rundown, or the Monday
The
rundown.
Monday run. There we go.
We're running it
Welcome in,
down.
guys. Love it.
We're excited to have you with us. If this is your first time with us on a Monday, watching any one of our Monday Rundown videos, welcome. We're happy to have you here. We love Monday Rundowns because we get to talk about all the things we don't get to talk about on our Wednesday shows. You guys bring us some really great questions. Keep bringing them in. If you have a question for us, please just put in the comments what your question is for us and we'll get to it. See, the thing that we really love about the Monday Rundowns is we answer the question based on what we know, but then we also look to other content creators, other thought leaders to hear from them and to give us more wisdom and just kind of like add to the pool of knowledge that all of us have. So we're all just learning together. That's really why we love this part of our show. It's another Monday. We're here with you. It's still February. It's still Black History Month. And so I can't wait to see what today's topic is.
All right, let's jump into it, guys.
Is Black girl depression different?
If you're afraid to answer this question like I am, no, I'm joking.
What do we need to know about depression
This is
with Black?
this is actually a very interesting question, and I'll say just because depression as a topic in itself has many layers, and so I am actually very interested to hear how being a Black woman or girl, what what layer or what layers that could add onto the depression as a whole, because depression has a lot to do with why, the reasons, what something we believe is leading or help is not feeding, supporting this feeling that we have. And so I'm interested to hear what a Black woman would be feeling poorly about that would be leading to that negative feeling.
Well, I'll say this. I remember reading somewhere, I forget where the article was located where I read this, but one thing that they identified as being a little bit different is that because of the stereotype or what they call the trope of a strong Black woman, sometimes Black women aren't allowed to be sad, aren't allowed to be scared or feel like they're unmotivated, whatever, like all the things that you feel when you're depressed. And so sometimes it can come out as anger, which is another trope, which is the angry Black woman. But it was really interesting. I don't have all the verbiage that I remember, but I just remember one of the things I got from the article is that like if you see a woman and she seems extremely upset, imagine that it's not the upset is just what she's allowed to express, because what she's really feeling inside is a deep sadness and perhaps even a depression. So I thought that was really interesting, and so I don't know if that's what we're gonna hear from the experts today on this, but I just remember reading that and thinking how interesting, and that's a little bit different, right? Just because of cultural stigmas that have been placed on a group of people. So yeah.
No, I know. Well, I'm definitely excited to dive into it as well. And I know this excerpt today comes from, I guess, a segment that was actually done on Good Morning America.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I know it's probably them covering them running through highlights of a story. So I'm excited to hear what this was all about. I don't typically watch get the chance
Good
to watch
Morning America. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to hear what they covered.
Right. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Now, as we celebrate Black History Month on GMA, this morning we're looking at mental health among Black women in particular and how the culture of struggling in silence is now changing with a new generation. Deborah Roberts sat down with two women who are paving the way. Good morning, Deb.
Good morning, Lindsay. And yes, paving the way, it is so important. Lately, we've heard a lot of discussion, especially from millennials, about prioritizing our mental health. But in communities of color, the conversation can be a little tricky, particularly amongst older women who prioritize strength and perseverance. Yet a mom and daughter from Maryland are trying to bridge that divide.
I would tell her about, other things going on with myself physically, but when it came to mental health, it just wasn't a discussion that we had in our family.
from a small child, my emotions. You suppress them, you suck it up, you keep it moving.
Lauren and Glenda Boone expressing a long-held belief among Black women. Keep your struggles and your innermost feelings to yourself. The strong Black woman is the image that we admire.
Mhm.
Did you ever think about paying attention to your mental wellness?
Never. I never thought about taking care of my mental health because my generation was taught when you talked about mental, you automatically thought mental illness. And so it was very difficult for me to even consider taking care of my mental health.
That's what we call the superwoman schema. I can do it all, push through, persevere. If I'm distressed, it's my fault and my responsibility. So going to a therapist means I'm not doing my job ultimately.
But that thinking slowly changing in communities of color.
Black women, we have always been like having to put on a mask like everything's okay.
Thanks partly to well-known figures who are bravely opening up publicly.
We are usually everybody's therapist.
Yes.
Yes.
Including former Destiny's Child singer Michelle Williams, who speaks openly about her history of depression and says mental health struggles can look different in women of color.
Irritability is a missed symptom of depression because we think depression is just sadness. Once I started getting in therapy more consistently, it started giving me language to everything that I internalized, but I just didn't know what to say.
So there's strength in vulnerability.
There is strength in vulnerability. I can't tell you how strong you are when you can say, I need help, versus thinking your strength is acting out. Because the quality of life is so much better when you're not triggered all the time.
And do you think young women might be helping their mothers to think about help? Do you think that it's changing the dynamic?
It absolutely is.
When I did start the therapy, I have to be completely honest with you. I went kicking and screaming.
Lauren and Glenda living proof of that changing dynamic.
And this is our second episode of Healing Together.
Even taking their journey online in a YouTube series, hoping to inspire other intergenerational conversations among women of color.
It has helped me to understand me and the makeup of me.
Yes, yes.
My daughters let me know, you were present, but you weren't present. She right off the bat was, well, like you never came to a softball game. So my defense from my generation, I'm like, are you kidding me? But when I got into therapy and start taking away the layers, that was just a symbol of you provided for her, but you weren't there for her for things that were important to her.
And when you started to dig deeper, what did you start to discover about yourself?
Girl.
How much time do we have,
right? Keep talking about the hard things. That's the only way we're going to get better is if we're facing it, if we're processing it.
And what's your message to people who are closer to your age who have never even thought about therapy and counseling, but who maybe want to try it?
Don't be afraid. It will change your life if you're willing to do the work. But if you're willing to do the work, it will be the best thing that you've ever done for you.
Glenda's advice is so important because women of color are underdiagnosed when it comes to mental health issues, often because symptoms like sleep disturbances, irritability, as you heard, and self-criticism aren't seen as signs of depression, but can be. So this issue is as important as your mammogram or your pap smear.
Yes.
And as they say, it can change lives. And guys, my daughter and I know because we've done some of this work and we've dug deep, and it's not easy, but we've come so much closer together because of therapy and counseling.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think it's amazing. I love this. There's strength in vulnerability. It's a really simple sentence and means so much.
So much.
And so important to have the conversations to normalize the idea of therapy and talking about it. Deb, thank you so much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.
You heard the woman. No, great segment.
So, so funny, right? Like they basically said one of the things I mentioned, right? Like this idea that like you have to be the strong Black woman, right? And kind of define that a little bit more to say what that means and what typically Black women find themselves doing, which is suppressing their feelings, suppressing their emotions, and just everything's fine and just keep on keeping on. I would say I've seen that in the generations before me, and I would say that I feel like a lot of the women in my generation probably have felt like they need to do the same thing. And also we've gotten older, and so I feel like now my generation is all about the mental health. To be fair, I sit on Generation X, like the very tail end of it, or the very beginning of millennials. So maybe that's why I feel like maybe I'm writing this line as well too. Like this also reckoning of like mental health and like needing to actually prioritize
Do something about it.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, because I could see that in my from a male perspective, that watching that happen as well. Just a lot of men having conversations that I know my dad's generation didn't openly have. They were, I think, a lot of the conversations were had, but just not as on open platforms as they are being had now. And many of us have come. I mean, I would say we've been in this maybe from our like 30s through our 40s, I guess, of realizing we're the adults now, like we're in charge now, and so we don't have to. Honestly, I just don't think we have to be afraid of our parents' opinions. And there's a sense of shift in that generation now, who are realizing, oh, maybe our kids are wise as well. I think wisdom used to be a thing of just age, and I feel like we're starting to be open to the idea that wisdom doesn't necessarily have to be just from somebody being older than you, you know? Because I learn a lot from my son. My son is 6. A lot. The kid is, because he's adapt to the time that he's in. You know what I mean? So I still have not baggage. I mean, I call it that, but I still have things that I am perspectives from a generation that is no longer the world that we're in, and I'm having to learn that we need, it's, about letting those perspectives go to really thrive in the, where we are now, in the time that we're in now. And I'm watching. That's why if you guys could, I don't want to get off the tangent, but yeah. I'm about to get into our Wednesday drive on why people are you see younger kids being successful now. It's because they're adapted to the time now. They're not holding on to,
old ways
the dot-com boom, bomb that, some person in our generation is still focusing on that because they didn't experience that, Yeah, this is an amazing to hear the specific to the question and the content we just saw. To hear her describe the different ways depression can manifest itself.
Yes, irritation.
The sleep. Yeah. So that's I'm actually very interested to learn more about those symptoms. I don't know if that was specific to Black women. I think she was just expressing that something depression can come up differently.
I agree.
But maybe for Black women, when they do it, it's seen as a Black woman thing, and it's not being viewed as a mental illness.
I would say the sleep disturbance thing is probably like, oh, I'm just not sleeping well, and you don't even realize it's a symptom of something else. Personally, I'll just go out there and say, like, very recently I've been struggling with my mental health, and my biggest key that I was my sleep disturbance. Like, I used to like sleep really well, and then all of a sudden I was having a really difficult time sleeping, and almost like people would tell me stories about how they couldn't sleep, like their minds kept running, and I never understood that until that time. And then I was like, oh my God, is this what people, insomnia, is this what people go through?
Yeah. I used to, that was my early 20s. Oh. Yeah. 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Wild. And I thought it was normal until I had conversations with other people that are like, dude, that's not normal. And I was going through, well, yeah.
Well, that's my point, right? So sleep disturbance is not normal, and this is a sign that something else could be going on, particularly with your mental health. And so it's important to prioritize it, to address it, and to keep working on it. I think that's the other thing, is that there's not like it's a constant thing. It's like yoga. It's a practice. You don't like do it one time and then it's like your mental health is fine forever. It's just something that you consistently practice and maintain.
Like one of my favorite people says, Abraham Hicks, she says, it's not like a degree that you get that you could put up on your wall. It's something you have to really keep going over and over and over and keep doing.
That is
seriously,
correct.
we think we get, it's like, I nailed it. I got it today.
Right.
Today I figured out this thing. It's like when you wake up tomorrow, you may have to go through it again. Yeah. So this is really good.
Oh, it's awesome. Well, guys,
Right.
thank you so much for tuning in with us. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, the like bell. That way it tells YouTube to share our content with other people, especially if you found it valuable. That's really important for us and for others to hear our message. But we'll see you next Monday. But until then, as always, remember that you deserve the good life. Say that.
Say that. We'll see you guys. Have an amazing week.